Woke up thinking, guess it'll be the same again. Outside, just the usual gray. The alarm said 6:45. Microwaved rice for breakfast, mixed with cold kimchi in a half-hearted stir. Tied my hair without a thought on the bus. Killed time watching YouTube shorts. Office lights, same dim haze as always. Can't remember if I said hello or not. Was lunch curry or fried rice today? Honestly, I couldn't tell what I even ate. Time passed faithfully, and I followed it without missing a beat, yet having done nothing real. The sun went down again, ordinary days. No reason to remember, no reason to forget. Time passed as naturally as breathing. Why was I always so busy? Another day gone. Came home to no one, too lazy to turn on the lights. Used my phone screen to change clothes. Opened the fridge, closed it, then opened it again. For no reason. All these days piled up, and somehow they made up my entire year. I didn't realize then how many days passed with nothing in them. Ordinary days, I brushed them off as meaningless, but maybe they were the quiet fence that kept me from falling apart. Only now do I start to see, and just like that, a year slipped by. I was merely surviving, but time had already left me. The bus arrives at the same time. The same faces waiting at the stop. Nothing's changed, same spot, same hand. I tap my card like always. The mums by the crosswalk are soaked from the first snow. A woman in a blue coat, a man in a black padded jacket. They were there last week, they'll be there next week too. Some days it's bitterly cold, some days snow pours down. Still I walk the road I walked yesterday, and will again tomorrow. Why is this road always the same? Even when winter comes, my heart feels blank, bored. My steps move out of habit, not desire. Even snowfall doesn't feel new. I'm just walking again. The convenience store door sign still says 24 hours. That familiar cat sleeps beside the trash bags. I walk to the far end of the alley, grab a coffee, head to the office. By now it's all automatic, my body knows the way. If someone asks, where are you coming from? I say, just the usual place, and that sums up my day. This road never changes me, and I leave nothing behind on it. I walk and walk, wearing the same coat, carrying the same thoughts. The only thing that wears down is the bottom of my shoes. And tomorrow I walk this road again. Woke up past 11, no alarm, no reason, just scroll through my phone. Delivery app, weather texts, no one called my name. Dishes piled in the sink, didn't even notice one was cracked. Skip brunch again, instant noodles, left the table as it was. I lick the edges of time, looping on Netflix home screen, then lay back down in a room with the lights still on. How many weekends like this? Didn't look in the mirror all day. Met no one, spoke to no one, so nothing stayed in memory. Just a weekend with nothing in it. Sunlight poured through the window, but the curtains stayed shut. A friend said, coffee. I replied, next time, and left it at that. Saturday night, the world felt empty. Grabbed a sweet milk at the convenience store. Walked for no reason, came home the same. Another one stacked on the last. This was all my weekend became. Nothing to remember, nothing to regret. And somehow that hurt more. Just like that. The weekend ended again with nothing special. McDonald's sandwich again? Can't the convenience store switch it up already? No sunlight hits my desk. Why is that printer groaning like that again? Office temperature never quite right. Regretting the coat I wore this morning, weather applied again. Deadlines piling, time barely moves. Why does this coffee taste so bitter today? Had no appetite, still finished every bite. Pretending to mutter to myself, but kinda wishing someone would overhear. Seriously, does anything go right these days? No one replies, but if someone chuckled, that'd be enough. Grumbling my way through the hours, somehow made time pass a little faster. No one found me charming, I know, but saying it out loud helped me survive those afternoons filled with harmless little nags. End of day alone in the elevator. Man, why was today so damn long? And still walking home, already wondering what I'll have for lunch tomorrow. To anyone else, I was just another tired soul, but to me, that was my way of loving the world, of wrestling with it, at least. Complaining, mumbling sometimes, clenching my lips shut. All those ways I made it through. Those afternoons embraced me more than I knew. Yeah, those afternoons weren't pretty, weren't poetic, but I was trying hard to live in my own strange way. The room was warm, my hand tucked beneath the blanket, unwilling to move. My phone lit up, your name glowing quietly, but I just didn't feel like talking. It was laziness, maybe a quiet way to stay untouched by words. I thought I'll call back later, but the ringtone faded before I moved. Sorry, I just wasn't up for it. I meant to say that sometime, but the right moment never came again. Now only the echo of that call rings in my mind. It was just a call, meant nothing back then, but now it lingers. We wouldn't have said much, but I miss even that kind A few days later, your name appeared again, but the phone didn't ring. Just a contact, no sound, no light. I told myself it didn't matter, but something in me knew it did. That call wasn't just a call, it wasn't my apathy. Maybe the world whispered softly to me, and I didn't listen. Now I carry that missed ring like a small regret, the way the air felt, the warmth of that evening. They were all inside that moment. I see it now. The phone won't ring like that again, and I know it, but still I wait in a quiet room on a winter night. Let's talk later, I said, but that later never really came. Mom's voice paused like she had something more to say, but I was always in a rush. Even with friends, if the call ran too long, I'd say I'll call you back, and I never did. Those conversations, I don't know where they ended up. Back then I didn't think it would feel like a loss. I didn't know that rushing words could close the heart too. If I had said just one more thing, would it have changed anything? How was your day? Where are you now? Those little questions. At the end of a call, I cut short. What lingered was silence, pretending to be okay. At work, with lovers, I believe short words meant efficiency, but those brief phrases slowly became distance. I didn't notice forming. Now I miss the sound of words, even if they're long, even if they mean ender. I just wanna hear someone's voice without brushing it off. If I could go back to that moment, I'd say let's talk a little more, just once. The conversations I ended too soon still try to speak to me quietly but persistently. The words ended, but my heart didn't. What was left unsaid keeps echoing softly somewhere deep inside me. Let's grab a meal sometime. I truly believe those words, and I use them 2 more times than I care to count. I'll text you soon, let's meet when things settle. But somehow those promises kept ending up on next week's forgotten list. Winter arrived, people drifted apart. Seasons changed, but those plans remained untouched. Delayed again and again. I told myself I meant well. It wasn't that I had no time. It's just I didn't try hard enough. I could have said I miss you. I thought of them but didn't send a single message. Strangely, the more I postponed, the more those promises started to ache. A gift card in the drawer, a note with faded ink. Let's meet next time for sure. That handwriting is slowly disappearing, and my intentions are fading with it. One waited, one forgot, and I stood in the middle, taking not even one step forward. I still think it's not too late, but even that thought never leaves my mind. Turns out, promises, they weren't that simple after all. Let's meet sometime. That phrase feels heavier now. While waiting for that day, another season slipped away quietly. I slept long enough, but still took forever to get up. Even stretching felt like a chore. Warm water didn't refresh me, and the mirror showed a blank version of me. Same shirt, same bread, same coffee, nothing had changed. Except I was more tired than ever. It took a while staring out the window to figure out what day it was. I dragged myself through work, my eyes kept drifting to the ceiling. I hadn't done anything exhausting, but by 3 I was already sleepy again. I leaned back in my chair and just stared at nothing. Someone spoke to me, I heard the words but couldn't remember them. I was supposed to reply to a message, just stared at the screen, then turned it off. I wasn't sick, I wasn't heartbroken, but the weight was still there, and nothing seemed to mean anything. Why breaking down. The stairs felt steeper than usual, the sky beyond the window too far to reach. When I got home there was no relief, only the thought of bed. I didn't want to speak, I didn't want to hear. And somehow those kinds of days kept showing up. No reason, which made it worse. Are you okay? I didn't even know what wasn't okay. I was just tired, so tired. If someone had held me, maybe they could have seen it. The exhaustion I didn't know how to name. But even that never came. Those days just slipped by quietly, without answers. Under the pale winter light, nothing had really happened, but I kept collapsing. A shadow of fatigue clung to every corner of my day. I didn't know how much I'd miss a day like that. A plain weekday, dozing off against the subway window. You sitting by the cafe window, stirring your coffee without a single thought. Our conversations always circle in the same old jokes. Our faces just blank from the weight of another tired day. Nothing ever felt special, nothing moved me. Birthdays, anniversaries, all brushed off in the rush of time. Even our photos blended into each other, forgotten the very next day. Sometimes I wasn't even aware we were sitting together. Moments that disappeared under the name of familiarity. Now I know those uneventful hours were quietly precious. The days when nothing happened were the most harmless, the most warm. Because nothing felt special, I didn't know how much they meant. Normal days are the easiest to lose. Looking back now, every single one was a small miracle. Feel like I need something grand to know I'm alive. But back then, why did I treat those simple moments so lightly? The day the sunlight was unusually soft, that walk we took for no reason, that random laugh we shared, I don't even remember it clearly. The ordinariness of that day became the longing of this one, and now I finally understand. Happiness wasn't in what was rare, but in what stayed near. Without asking for attention, 'cause nothing felt special. I let it all go unnoticed. Now that it won't return, those scenes become so clear. Our passing seasons were in the end a beauty made of nothing but the ordinary. Those so-called boring days were in truth the most radiant moments of my life, and only now I see it. When did spring even come? I must have seen the dandelion fluff floating, but my gallery had more photos of coffee than flowers. Cherry blossoms, I kept saying I'll see them tomorrow, but they just faded away. Summer, it was just hot. Can't even remember where I went or what I did. And autumn, I must have stepped on some fallen leaves, but all I really recall are credit card alerts, deadlines in red, and a bottle of convenience store wine I drank alone. Winter began only when the leaves disappeared from the streets, and just like that another year passed quietly inside the dull hum of familiarity. I didn't lose anything, yet it feels like I missed everything. Only when my hands were empty did I realize how careless I'd been. Offering me a moment to pause, but I always said maybe later. Within those seasons I could have loved, cried, confessed, or even waited, but I did nothing. I just let it all pass. I'll have another chance next year, I thought, not knowing how arrogant that was. Spring bloomed and faded quietly. Summer burned and vanished. Autumn turned to color. Winter piled up outside, and through it all I never once gave my full heart to any of it. The seasons came by my side, but I kept making excuses. Too busy, too tired, too distracted. Now I see a part of my life quietly disappeared without ever being lived. And now that I finally stopped, the seasons no longer speak to me. So this year I choose to simply watch the falling snow and hold on so I don't miss it this time. train on line 3 past John O'Threega, and I was half asleep, like someone who had already used up the whole day. I was always in a hurry back then, rushed to wash up the moment I opened my eyes, left home like I was being chased, blended into a crowd of blank faces. On my way to work at lunch, I'd say no time and shut the lid of my instant noodles to keep typing. I avoided busy supermarkets, grabbed dinner from a convenience store instead. I postponed replies, postponed plans, postponed taking care of myself. Even Saturday mornings were spent half cleaning the house, half checking emails again. They weren't even urgent. Looking back now, I wonder, what was I rushing toward? Most of those things I don't even remember. What I really missed were people, moments, and room to breathe. I hid behind the word busy, afraid someone might see my heart or steal my time, or realize I wasn't moving forward. Saying I was busy was the less shameful way to disappear. I told my mom I'll call you later, sent a sticker to a friend on her birthday, even forgot mine, working late again, pretending to be busy. I was slowly fading away. The low hum of the washing machine at midnight, and something inside it spinning quietly. Maybe that was me. I thought constant motion meant I was alive, but now in silent breaths I feel more alive than ever. Why was I always so busy now, I ask? But maybe back then I simply didn't know how to stop, or maybe I didn't want to. Now I'm learning to look again at the things I missed while hurrying, like the snow falling outside my window tonight. Quiet, but never The kitchen clock stayed right where it always was, and the little plant below it never bloomed. Still, the seasons changed. In spring I opened my closet for no reason. In summer, the heat made me postpone everything. Autumn passed quietly, a little too cool. In winter I just hid beneath the blanket. Nothing special happened, just skipped from one season to the next, and bit by bit I lost pieces of myself. On my birthday, I bought myself a pudding and blew out a candle alone. During Chuseok, I watched traffic news until the holiday vanished. On Christmas, I found myself staring at the neighbor's tree lights and hid the fact that my heart flickered out faster than those bulbs. Someone asked me, anything memorable this year? I smiled and said, not really, it was just fine. But that answer kept echoing in my head for some reason. Maybe that's why it felt so empty, because nothing really happened. The days blurred together, and before I knew it, the year was gone and I had been inside it the whole time. I closed my eyes in crowded subways and stumbled downstairs while looking at my phone. Spilled coffee on my way to work, gave up on the day altogether. And when you gather them all, that was my 2025. My journal didn't even reach halfway, and my photo album was full of screenshots. So this must be the record of how I lived. I was busier than anyone and emptier than I ever admitted. But still, I wasn't sick. I loved someone. And though I was alone, I didn't fall apart. And just like that, the year passed, small and hazy, yet unmistakably mine. It filled something quietly within me. Flipping the last page of the calendar, I whispered to myself, it's okay, next year will be a little better. Then I turned off the lights quietly as the year inside me faded out with a sigh. A blank page left untouched, a list half written. The coffee cooled off, sunlight slowly slid down the window. Another morning, just like yesterday. That kind of ordinary day. Didn't want to get up, just 5 more minutes. Sighed at the sky outside, saved the last brownie for later, only to let it harden. Half watered the plant, ignored a call, pretending not to hear. Circled a day on the calendar, but it came and went without much. Saw a cat on the way to the store, smiled and forgot in the next breath. A day that felt like nothing passed just like that. Back then I didn't know a day without hopes or highlights could be a quiet, warm kind of gift. It felt like nothing clocks beep, all background music to my life. Moments I called boring might have been what held me together. Dozing off at the table, sunlight slipping under the blanket. A weekday without a name, still mine. Maybe someone else would have called it precious. I didn't see it then, but I do now. A day with nothing special was quietly holding so much. Is it only when it's gone that we realize what mattered? Days that turned out fine built me quietly. The sighs, the silence, all scenes I won't get back again. What day I thought meant nothing now feels so deep. So quietly, so unmistakably. Fine. On the familiar asphalt, the same crosswalk I stepped on yesterday and today. The road I sighted out of boredom, I stood on it again this morning. Every morning I stop at the same signal, walking among the same crowd. The convenience store sign hasn't changed, but somehow I have evolved. Back then I didn't understand why I had to pass the same scenery day after day. It felt meaningless, dull and tiring. But walking that road day by day was slowly shaping me in ways I didn't see then. There were no grand events, no overwhelming moments, but that road kept carrying me forward. Even the tired, complaining steps brought me here because I didn't stop. Now standing in this place, I find myself saying thank you to that road. The sharp winter mornings, the leaves and snow piling under my feet. Those seasons I simply passed by were perhaps covered and holding me all along. Those days I thought were just repeats were the very days shaping who I am. The road never changed, but the one walking truly stopped. It was always leading me somewhere, even if I didn't realize it. That ordinary road was quietly carrying me all along. Just an ordinary day, just an ordinary road, but on that path I was always walking toward tomorrow. Thank you to the road that carried me. Light slips through the curtains. I woke without an alarm. No wind beyond the window. Cold rice with water. A quiet start to the day. Washing my hair maybe tomorrow. Hoodie pulled tight, I head to the store. A nice Americano in hand, I stroll around the neighborhood. Old songs playing on the radio. The washing machine spins, comics spread out on the floor. Lying down page after page, nodding off, waking up, then dozing again. To someone else a meaningless day. I used to think the same, but nothing happening at all that strangely okay. It was boring, lazy, I sighed and tossed in bed. The day seemed to vanish, yet I wasn't tired. In fact, I felt lighter the next morning. Was just a bowl of ramen. Dishes left for tomorrow. I nodded off on my desk, woke to the smell of cold broth. I didn't post anything online. No calls, no messages, but maybe that was for the best. No one calling a weekend with nothing to mark it. Maybe it should have felt hollow, but somehow that quiet filled something in me. It was boring, lazy, a day of little complaints. I did nothing at all, but felt recharged. Maybe we all need such days sometimes. sunlight leaned low. Coffee had gone cold. The nagging began again, sighs at the end of every sentence. Still somehow I smiled. When are you ever going to clean? Why haven't you done the dishes again? Grumbles that clung to my mouth, even knowing I sounded like a nag. I just couldn't stop talking. On one side, reruns of an old drama. On the other, the cat curled like a loaf, a half-dried sponge in the kitchen sink. And as I sipped a bit of milk, you let out a giggle. Love disguised as complaints, affection hidden inside nagging, and you pretending not to notice made the afternoon warmer. My tone was sharp, but my face never followed suit. Even when I said you're impossible, why did it sound so tender? Now I finally understand. Pouring chips into a plastic bowl, fighting over the TV remote, snapping for no real reason, yet somehow no one ever got hurt. Maybe back then we couldn't hide our hearts. You glanced out the window, then quietly said, "This is what family is." And I couldn't help but smile. I didn't realize then all those complaints, they tied us closer than silence ever could. Maybe it was through all that nagging we kept checking on each other, pretending to argue, pretending to sulk, yet never losing the laughter. That kind of afternoon meant something to me. I still think of it sometimes, that noisy, ordinary afternoon, filled with warmth and hidden smiles. In the end, that's the version of you I want to remember. Saw the call come through while I was on the line. Assumed it wasn't urgent and let it pass by. That day, just one of those days. Went to bed too late the night before. Coffee was strong, mood was dull. The wind tapped at the window. Work piled up, mind restless, so I ignored it. Only hours later I checked my phone. One missed call on the screen, but calling back felt awkward, so I thought maybe tomorrow. How could I have known that would be the last call inside that ring? Hesitation, a longing, a quiet hello unsaid. One missed call carried more than I knew. Now I quietly in near years, and I looked for that number again, but like a name said too late, my fingers froze midair. These days when the phone rings, I answer right away, thinking maybe someone's gathering courage to reach me just like before. Back then it felt too small to bother picking up, but now I see how precious that moment was. Too late now, but I still wish I'd said thank you, and I'm sorry. One call I didn't take held a weight I didn't feel, but now I do. So next time it vibrates, I'll simply say hello without delay. It's cold again today, yeah, my hands are freezing. Just a small exchange over cheap coffee from the corner store. In front of the elevator, done with work, yeah, finished a bit early today. The next day when I saw you again, those words came back to me first. The lady at the kimbap shop said, you look busy again today. With a smile tucked into her voice, the words were brief, but they eased my heart all evening. More than the long conversations, it's the short passing words that sometimes linger longer, rooting deeper inside me. That one casual phrase was what got me through the day. At the end of a hard, quiet evening, it was those short talks that held me up without trying. At a salon I stepped into to escape the biting wind. Your hair looks nicer today, she said. That simple line lifted my mood enough to meet my own eyes in the mirror. A nod from across the counter, no words but still, it meant I was remembered, and that was enough. I wonder sometimes, would it have meant more if it were longer? But no, maybe the warmth stayed longer because it was so brief. Those few words resurface now and then, ordinary as they were, they turn that day around. Even whisper gently from within. Because they were short, they stayed. Because they were small, they meant this quiet road I walk, those old words still walk beside me. Let's really meet this time. Next time it's my treat. Like a habit, like a routine, we exchange promises half jokingly. The movie we planned to watch ended weeks ago. That restaurant closed down for good. Seasons change more than once, but not once did we follow through. In our last messages, let's find a time soon. Still echoing in the chat. After that we stopped asking, stopped expecting anything. But strangely those words still sit somewhere warm inside me, like they never left. Even promises never kept were sincere at the time. The heart we spoke from wasn't fake. So I still remember what we said, as if we went there, as if we did it all together. Today, walking through a snow-filled alley, I remembered the beef soup we said we'd share. We never had it, but I swear I felt its warmth. Strange, isn't it? Our words couldn't hold up against time, but our feelings, they never left the table. If one day we could revisit that conversation, maybe even the broken promises could be a new beginning. Disguise your voice, your tone, the way you meant it, all blurred now. But the promises, strangely they remain vivid. Even the promises we never kept stayed quietly inside me. I don't know if it was love, but I do know what we had was warm once. phone screen lit up my face. Nothing came to mind, and maybe that was a blessing. On nights when I was too tired to think, simply closing my eyes felt like comfort. On the way home I dozed off 2 stops early, came back and dropped onto the couch, still in my coat without even washing up. Didn't set an alarm that night, but strangely sleep came deep and fast. An empty cup sat on the table, a warm meal waited in the microwave, but I had no will to reach for it. Curled up in the blanket, I waited for my eyelids to grow heavy without any warning. Sleep simply took me away. Back then I thought I was just tired, but now I know to fall asleep like that was a kind of grace. A night where no one was waiting, a day that left no feelings behind, just the weight of exhaustion let me drift into sleep. Maybe I was doing better than I thought. Maybe it was those nights that helped me make it through. Snow had fallen outside the window. I only noticed it the next morning. That soft white light under the door told me the world had changed. I remembered nothing from that night, and somehow that made me thankful. No dreams, no thoughts, just the stillness itself, while someone somewhere battled insomnia. I slept solidly, wholly. At the end of days with no one to lean on, sleep was the last warmth that held me. I didn't know it then, but it was those quiet nights that kept me standing. Nights I could sleep because I was tired. That alone was comfort enough. Now I understand, back then I was holding on better than I knew. Nights with no tears, no laughter either, just sleep. And those nights kept me alive. I never took a photo, never told anyone about that day, but I still remember the air, the scent, like it's stitched into my skin. Maybe because it was nothing, nothing was ever forgotten. A cafe that was neither loud nor quiet, not the smell of coffee, but your indifferent tones stay with me longer. The song we picked without meaning lingered in my place. fidgeted with your phone, almost said something, and I just nodded. It wasn't an anniversary, no turning point between us, but looking back, that day stands out the clearest. It lasted because it was ordinary. That afternoon with no drama, no twist, no tears, no bright laughter. Yet somehow those were the moments that stayed. The book I carried in my bag, never finished, but folded pages held the feelings of that day. We shared street snacks in silence, plastic bags rustling between our hands. Truly nothing happened, and that's the strange part. Why is it that only that day refuses to fade? I used to think special moments made themselves known, but no, it was the ones that slipped past quietly that ended up glowing in the dark corners of my heart. It lasted because it was ordinary. I only now realize the miracle in that plane is the record of a day no one noticed, plays in my mind like my own private film. Memory doesn't pick the grandest scenes, it chooses a quiet, empty theater where nothing happened and never lets it go. There wasn't a day I called spring, but one morning azaleas bloomed by the sidewalk. Only then did I realize, it was spring. By that time the green had already deepened. Summer was hot, but then again it always is, more than the hand fanning the heat. I remember the one who held it, a few muffled words over the hum of the AC, held a warmth I didn't notice then. Autumn came with windows open at night, sheets turning cool under quiet ceilings. That breeze, gentle yet oddly sharp, settled into the alley where I walked alone. I don't know why, but I almost cried. Winter, when did it begin? I wasn't waiting for the first snow. Just one morning, the tip of my nose stung with cold, and I realized I'd already taken out my scarf. It became a season, not because someone declared it, but because it passed. And in those missed little moments, time found a name for itself. photos, no anniversaries marked, but I remember the sunlight, the scent of that day, the rhythm of my steps, your fleeting expression, all of it eventually became a season. Only after it passed could I call it a season. While I was living it, it was just another day. Every season is a collection of scenes I didn't realize then, but now I know. Each day I endured was building time itself. Seasons don't arrive on their own, they gather quietly from what we let pass and gain their name that way. The days I barely noticed were already guiding me into the season. Yes, every moment seemed like nothing at the time, but that's exactly what made it a season. Because it passed, it became one, and maybe that's why it was beautiful. Checking my phone throughout the day, making lists, crossing them off, writing them again. Gripping the subway, strap in silence, missing stops while staring into nothing. I was always busy. My notes were filled with the tiniest tasks. At cafes, my laptop got more attention than my lunch was always rushed and simple, and I barely had time to ask anyone how they were back then. I didn't know why I hurried so much. I just thought the days were too short. Mornings were ruled by alarms, nights ended with exhaustion, pulling the blanket in buses, elevators. I kept checking something, thinking that's the only way to get somewhere real. But now I see it clearly, that busyness led me somewhere. It wasn't wasted time, it was a quiet step towards someone, something. Thanks to that rush, I never stopped. Even if I didn't know where I was going, I was still in motion. All those busy days brought me to where I am now. Sometimes I thought it was all in vain, sometimes it felt so hollow. But on nights when the day finally ended and I looked out the window, I understood. Even that busyness had meaning. It wasn't for show, it wasn't to beat anyone. It was the motion of holding on, the will not to give up on life. Now I get it, I was busy because I wanted to protect something, love, maybe, or just myself. All those things were hidden in the protected me, ignored me at times, but still embraced me. And one day I looked back and saw it had become my trail. Now I know how precious that time really was. Yes, I was busy, but it meant I was alive. And deep down, I just wanted to reach someone. Now I understand why I was always so busy. Staring out the window, just a few pages left on the calendar. The year isn't gone, it's only paused for a breath. Everything feels still, like time's holding its breath with me. This year was quiet, no loud laughter, no wild sobs, just steady days, small joys, and the quiet will to keep going. And somehow that built the year. Not much stands out in memory, but every dull day shaped me. Hesitations, moments I gave up. Even there, my heart stayed alive, and it brought me here. Others speak of achievements, but I walk softly through this year. Even in whispers, my days left echoes behind. Yes, this year was mine. There wasn't a single day I call useless. Even the forgettable ones held their place in the story. Feelings I buried now make perfect sense. This year undeniably belonged to me. Scribbles in half-filled planners, the air of late afternoon spent staring into nothing, the postponed promises and the faces I almost forgot. They were the threads of this year. A long summer, a blink and it's gone. Autumn, no snow yet, but my heart has known winter for a while. Time didn't pass unnoticed, I filled it piece by piece. Let them say what they will, I live this year my way, and that's enough. The flaws, the fumbles, they're all part of my year. So now I can say it out loud. This year was mine. The quiet days, the overlooked hours, they built me. All those unseen moments are still alive in me now. Even if the lights change and the last page turns, this year doesn't vanish, it stays quietly but proudly in my chest. Yes, this year